for coming, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me. It's nice to be here in person. So, when I was making plans to come out here, it just popped into my head because I know the first time we recorded, we were like, yeah, if there's ever a chance to do it in person, then that'd be sick. So
yeah, dude. I wish we had a bit more time to kick it as well, man. Dude, but you're here for a wedding, right?
Yeah, I'm here for a wedding. It's actually one of my good friends from back in the day that he actually passed away a while ago. His sister is getting married, and the guy she's marrying is somebody who my parents know as well. So it's just kind of a weird connection that was made. So yeah, it's going to be nice to see his family and everything. I haven't seen them in a while.
That's wicked, man. Yo, pull this a little bit closer to your face.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Nice.
But yeah, dude, that's wicked. And you were telling me some great news, man. What happened in the beginning of this month, dude?
Oh yeah. So as of May 6th was my last day at my 9 to 5. And it was actually so I'm doing full-time online coaching now. So out of the rat race, not on that grind in the morning traffic and stuff anymore. So super excited about that. Something again that was on my mind for a while, and it was a tough decision because I had been at that job for this was going on to my 7th year now.
What were you doing?
I was at a commercial HVAC company, so I was working as an account manager there.
Nice.
And it was a great job, great company. I liked everyone I worked with, but it was like I was doing both. I was doing online coaching and that for just over a year now, and it's getting to the point where it was getting hard to manage both, and it was tough because we're brought up to think about security and like what's going to be the safest thing. You need benefits, you need a secure job, you need a paycheck, especially like growing up in a traditional family. Like that's what your parents always tell you, right? Like you got to go to school, get a job, be secure. And even now, like telling them that I'm doing this, they're like, because they don't really understand the concept of
because you got kids.
Yeah. So them like understanding the concept of being an online coach, they don't even really know what that is, right? So
yeah, they're like, that's a job.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can work from anywhere. I can help people, and it's super fulfilling. Like I was telling you, basically taking all of everything that changed my life, helped me turn my life around, and turning it into a program that's helping other people do the same. And it's like it's all encompassing. It's not. I feel like that's what's different about it than a lot of other programs. Is it's not just about health and fitness. That's part of it, but it's really about what you're not doing as well, which is a big thing that I think we miss. Is when we're trying to go through change, or we look at ourselves and say, okay, I need to make some changes. We always think about what we need to add to our lives, but we're not really focused on what we need to stop doing, what we need to take away, which is something that I help people figure out.
Yeah. It's always like, because I literally was just thinking about this the other day. Like there's always this like strong correlation that we ignore. Like there's always like, we have like habits or things like that, and we're like, no, that's not what's holding me back. Like I've always done that.
Yeah, it's like you want to...
Or I need to do it.
Right, exactly. You feel like you need it because you're so comfortable with it and you're afraid to let go of it. Mm-hmm. But it's like you want to bring your old habits with you into your new life. But actually, I post this quote all the time. Like I always post a quote on my story first thing in the morning. And I think I posted it today. So it's weird that it's coming up. But what you need to find most will be found where you least want to look.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not what you see or what you're willing to put right in front of you. It's what you're trying to hide, right? So that's what you need to bring to the surface.
Yeah. I say something similar even because I don't think any philosophy that we have is original. Like,
no.
We read too much, but
no, for sure.
It's like,
and that's definitely that's not from me. I think there's a few people that have said that. So
yeah, because all of those things you can adapt. Like I've clipped it out of probably like 4 different episodes now, and I've posted on Instagram where I'm basically saying the same thing, where it's like, that the thing that you feel the most resistance to in terms of your mental health is what you need to explore.
Yeah.
Right? Like that, whether it's pain, anxiety, depression, and you're like, fuck, I don't want to feel that. I'm going to do this thing that numbs that out. Right. Either be with people and, never be alone with my own thoughts, or like smoke a bunch of weed and never have to feel like shit, like numb yourself out, like whatever it is. Like, it's like always like that feeling you're trying to escape, that where you feel resistance, where you're like, I don't want this any longer. Like, that's where you need to go explore.
Exactly. And I think that's what we miss. And we're so quick to react to try to get out of that we miss so much in that moment. We're just, like you said, nobody's really willing to spend time with themselves to figure out what's really happening. Why am I having these feelings? Why do I feel like I'm bored or I want to go have a drink? There's something there, right? And it's going to be different for everybody. But before making that decision to run to a drink or some food or drugs or whatever the case is, it's always a good idea to stop and think and try to figure out why that's happening, right? And if you need to escape to something positive, right? Go for a workout, a run, walk, meditate, and you might actually get somewhere with that.
Yeah, the thing about like self-care is like we always think like what's going to make me happy, and that's self-care. Like we hear like, I had a stressful time, so I took like a day off and just watched some Netflix and ate, my favorite flavor of chips and cracked open a bottle of wine and kicked my feet up. And you're like, dude, that is literally the most indulgent, gluttonous, sloth-like, like that's not self-care. That's literally the opposite.
Yeah, for sure. A big part of self-care is going through that, through the pain, right? Like how much can you go through and figure something out, get somewhere? Obviously, we're not talking about like hurting yourself or putting yourself through pain that's not needed, but
yeah, you're not putting your hand on the stovetop.
No, but I mean, life in itself and our experience through a lot of different things is going to be painful. There's no way around it. So can we learn from it and grow from it, or are we going to try to ignore it and stay the same, right?
Yeah, and it's like life is always going to be hard, but are you going to ask for less challenges, or are you just going to get stronger?
Exactly.
Right? Like, I know, and I'm sure you'd say the same. I'm sure everybody in life would say the same. Like, I don't think I've had the easiest go, and I don't think it's going to get easier from here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that I've had the hardest life ever. I think that everybody would be able to say that. Hey, like, it hasn't been always easy, and it's probably going to be harder later. Like, I'm going to have to deal with more pain than I've dealt with already.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just kind of thinking about, can I still be me in those moments? Because I feel like a lot of the time when I find myself in those moments, like I kind of leave and this like defensive, like egotistical kind of version of myself takes over, and it's like, oh no, we're not scared. Oh no, we're not hurt.
Yeah.
I'll be tough. Like, and that's how I get like reactions where like someone says something that angers me, and then I get pissed off and yell at them. And it's like, okay, you maybe felt tough for a second, but like that's not what a tough guy would do.
No.
Right? So it's like I always ask myself, like, can I still be myself in those moments? Like, can I breathe and think like Mark? Can I act like Mark still? Can I behave like him? And it's sometimes, I don't know, do you get what I'm saying right now?
I do.
Like when you
Absolutely.
act like a different person when you're in pain, right?
And I think that's when you really find out who you are at your core, right? When everything's not going your way, when something's triggering you or setting you off, how are you reacting in those moments? Because when everything's perfect, it's fucking easy to be to be happy and
the
be
nice
nice.
guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's easy, right? It's when you have every excuse not to be, when nobody would even bat an eye if you freaked out, but you don't, right? That's when you're tapped in, right? But if you're always reacting, you're always getting angry, and you're always letting things get under your skin, that's a perfect sign that you got some work to do, right?
Yeah, and like a lot of the time, I always think like almost like these events take like seconds to happen, but then we give them so much more time
Yeah.
than the event actually takes. You know what I mean? Like we
Yeah.
just like sit in it, and it's like, that thing only happened for like 7 minutes, but like you let it take over your life for like 7 days.
Exactly. And I think that is a perfect indicator if you reacted correctly or not, right? If you react incorrectly, then you're going to be paying for that because you're regretting how you acted, you're regretting what you said, and that's another perfect chance to turn it around on yourself and say, what did I do wrong, and what do I need to do differently? What do I need to work on? Because I mean, obviously, everyone's human, everyone gets pissed off, but if we react in a way that's not right, then you're going to be spending hours, days feeling like shit about it. You're just wasting time, right? Life's too short to do that. Plus, you're potentially hurting somebody that you love, and it's all around not a good outcome. But if in those moments you're approaching it with a calm mind and you understand, okay, this is a situation that's affecting me in this way, and it doesn't matter who's right or wrong, but your reaction still has to be right?
Yeah. I was just kind of thinking something. It just escaped me, but I was kind of thinking about, even when you have those moments. Oh, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. So when you have those moments, I find we almost want to justify them, like hey, Mark, you yelled at that person, and it's like, oh, I had to because there wasn't enough time to convey the message any other way, or there was no other way for them to actually get the point. Like, we always try and justify the actions and the behaviors, and it's kind of like, for me, like it gave me a little bit more clarity in terms of who I was and who I wanted to be when I thought about, like, maybe I didn't have to act that. Like, is there another way I could have handled that?
Right.
Is there a better way I could have handled that? And like, I'll experiment next time. Like, one of the things I'm trying to do now, like, I have this tendency where, like, when I have like friends or family members or anybody like that that's like complaining around me, I'm so quick to just like, oh, just do this, like just instructive, like what to do. And it's kind of like, you don't really have the whole picture. You don't really know what's going on. And then even if you did, like, it's not like that's how people learn, like nobody learns that way.
No.
So I've just I've been like thinking and pondering, like how do you kind of direct somebody in the right direction? Because maybe even your instructions aren't even accurate, because you might not know the full story of what they're going through, or,
Yeah. I think it's important to help them come up with the answer themselves, right? Versus just telling them what to do. And the best way that I found to do that, and I asked myself the same question, right? Like, in those moments, it's like, you just ask yourself, what's the outcome that I want? Like, at the end of this, what do I want to happen? What do I want the other person to be feeling? What do I want to be feeling myself? If it's a situation between me and somebody else, right? Or the same thing, like if it's somebody else talking to me about a situation and they don't know what to do or how to react, just ask them, what's the outcome that you want out of it? Go to the end and then work backwards. So how are you going to establish that? How are you going to get that? Freaking out, yelling at the person, getting mad, likely is not going to be the answer, right? There's always a better way around it. And again, like, whether it doesn't matter who's right or wrong, it's being the bigger person and approaching it the right way. And that way you're growing, because you're not reacting incorrectly. You're getting the outcome you want, and you're realizing that, like, it's all mindset, right? To be able to get through those situations.
Yeah. It's difficult, man. And it sucks because, like, ego doesn't want you to look into it, man.
No. Yeah. Ego's definitely the worst enemy, for sure.
Yeah. That's so sick. Have you been reading a lot recently? You still doing a lot of reading?
Still the same stuff, man. Similar stuff that the last time we talked. A lot of Stoic philosophy. Actually, the most recent thing I listened to an audiobook. I wasn't actually reading, but Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil. Have you heard of that one?
I haven't heard of that one by him.
Yeah, it was. I just kind of happened upon it. Like, there was an audiobook on YouTube. Crazy, man. It
really
just completely blew my mind. Yeah.
I'm going to listen to it. How long is it?
It's like 3.5 hours.
I will be done it tomorrow. I'm going to crush it at work, man.
Yeah. That's what I did. Like, I just started. I'm like, oh, 3 hours, is kind of long. And then I started listening to it, and it just started clicking. Like, it started making so much sense, right? And it's like, basically what I took away from it was like everything that, like, when a negative thought starts to creep into your head. And I mean, sorry, just to back up a little bit, it doesn't have to be about actual physical devil. Like, there's not like a red guy with fucking horns and whatever, right?
The
but
shitty tail.
Yeah, it's basically like anytime negative thoughts are creeping into your head, like being able to recognize what's happening, right? And it's just being fully in control. So sometimes when something negative is creeping in your head, it might not seem negative. It might be something that's just leading you in the wrong direction, but it's through something
like what? Like, could you give an example?
Like, let's say you have a really hard week at work and you killed it all week at work. You're tired. Now it's Friday evening and you're like, I feel like I deserve to just go out and let loose and party and fucking drink and do drugs and whatever. Like, going into those situations, I mean, all of us have at some point we go into them, we think it's a really good idea. We think we've earned it. We think that there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, exactly. You just got to live my life.
Yeah.
But then something fucked up happens, or you wake up the next day, you just had a fight with somebody, you punched your best friend, you got into a car accident, who knows, right? And then it's just regret and pain, right? So, like, recognizing that shit, like, even though it seems like a good idea, you really want to do it, it's likely not going to be if you take a step back and you look at what the possible outcome of that's going to be, right? And that's just one example, but it goes pretty deep. Like, just, yeah, if anybody, I would recommend checking it out. It's not just, I know when you bring up like the devil and stuff, everyone thinks it's going to be all religious. It's not really super religious. It's more like just the devil, and then heaven and God is basically like looking at it like just positivity and negativity, right? Which is what it is. So.
Yeah, and even like, and I don't know, I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm going to tomorrow. But the visualization I have in my brain is like a little angel sitting on one shoulder and a little devil sitting on one shoulder, and the devil's telling you like, "Hey, it would feel really good to do this right now. This might make you feel a little bit better than how you feel right now."
Yeah.
Right, and it's like, yeah, it probably would.
Yeah,
it
for
probably
sure.
definitely would, right? Like,
and I think even like the way so many people self-sabotage, like you make a little bit of progress, you start feeling good, and then you just screw yourself over, right?
Yeah, dude. I've been thinking. I literally just had a conversation with my girlfriend yesterday. I called her and we were just talking after work, and we were just like talking about. We just have these conversations sometimes. We're like, "How are you doing? Like, how are you right now?"
Yeah.
And she asked me that yesterday, and I was like, why do you ask? She's like, you seem a little stressed or whatever. And I was like, honestly, like, I just feel like in life sometimes it's like, fuck, you feel like you're getting a foothold, you get like one step forward, and then you look and you're like, oh, I'm actually 2 steps in the wrong direction, man. Like, and dude, I think you're 100% right. Like, there's always like and the devil, they, like, if you're going to use that analogy, the devil is going to whisper in your ear when you have, like, say, like, if you were to number, I have 6 things in my life I have to take care of, like family, my nutrition, my health, whatever, like, label the 10 most important things.
Right.
Like, you'll be killing it in 8 of them, and then he'll whisper in your ear and say, like, hey, these 2 things we can chill out on. Don't worry about finances for a bit. Like, you're okay. You're comfortable. Worry about your family. Worry about, this. Worry about that.
Right.
And then you forget about finances for like 6, 7, 8 months, a year. And you're like, what the fuck? I'm in debt. Or like people have that problem, obviously, with like, weight gain, weight loss, or, even like the way that they keep up with their friends. Like, one of my friends called me today and he's like, how are you doing? I'm like, dude, I hadn't even checked in with this guy. I haven't seen him or talked to him. Like, I'm just assuming he's going to stay one of my close friends. Like,
yeah,
like we always forget to take care of like 1 or 2 areas. And I feel like it always creeps in when you feel like you have everything else figured out.
For sure. Yeah. It's always, that's what happens, man. When you're at your lowest point, you're at your lowest point. You're looking at everything. And obviously people treat it differently. Some people just stay there, get depressed. But I mean, a lot of people will turn it around. They look around and say, fuck, I'm at rock bottom. I need to turn something around. But when you're at your high point, that's when they say, quote unquote, the devil's going to get you, right? Because you think everything's good, but that's when you get lazy, you get soft, and you start slacking, right? So I think it was pretty recent, like that big thing that happened with Chris Rock and Will Smith.
Yeah.
It was kind of all over. But one of the things that I think Denzel Washington said to Will Smith is like, the devil will come for you when you're at your highest point, right? So that's
oh yeah, I get what you mean now. Yeah.
So you think everything's good and you think you're on top of the world. That's when you got to fucking watch out.
Yeah, because realistically, even though you're winning something, everyone's laughing at you.
Right.
Right? Like it's pretty crazy. I like that, man. Was Napoleon Hill, was that where the saying comes from? The greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing people he doesn't exist? Is that him? Who said
sure.
that?
I'm not sure. I don't think that was in there.
I've heard it a couple times recently, but that kind of seems exactly on point. It's so true, man. Just like tricking you into thinking that he doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And then, you're just like set.
Yeah.
I went, like I said, I went fishing this weekend.
Yeah.
And it was really sick. I love anytime I can go camping, and like I literally airplane mode my phone like the whole 4 days that I was gone. So it was such a nice break, but I brought my journal along.
Oh, nice.
And I'm usually up pretty early, and I woke up earlier one morning than everybody else. I just kind of sat down and lit a little campfire because it was pretty cold. And I literally just sat there with my journal, and I was writing down all the things that just made me feel like shit. Like one of the examples I was thinking of is like looking at other guys' trucks like out in the woods, and you see all these like jacked up brand new trucks, and you're like, fuck, man, I'm a loser. You know, like I drive like an old fucking beat up work truck, like, you know, it's got dents in the side or whatever. And I'm like, I'm a fucking loser. You know, like I work more than most of these people because they're all older than me, and they, you know, and, you know, it just like comparisons. That's just one example. I was writing down like everything I felt like shit about myself, or like, why do I compare myself? And then that I feel angry about. I'm like, I'm mad that I'm, you know, like noticing that. But I just went off on a random thought. But the reason I brought that up is because one of the things I wrote down in my journal I was reflecting on yesterday is just the constant conversation that I'm having to force myself to have now around, you know, is this for present Mark or is this for future Mark?
Right.
Because for the past, like, my whole life, it's been like, I need to do something for present Mark. You know, hey, you've been working so hard recently, like you need to reward yourself like this, and you need to do something for present Mark. And then I always wonder, why am I in a place where I'm not happy with my life?
That's it right there. That's the way that most people live, is you worry about yourself in your current situation and what you feel like doing in the moment. You don't think about the future. You don't understand or reflect on what mistakes you've made and change from them. But then at the same time, so you're doing that, you're only worrying about yourself you're quote unquote just doing me. But then you're not happy with your life and where you're at in your life, right? And so many people fail to connect the dots, where if you want to grow out of your current situation and what you don't like, you have to do some shit that makes you uncomfortable, right? Mm-hmm. And kind of get out of that. So, and it's so easy to stay there. And it's like almost celebrated nowadays is like, just do whatever you feel like doing, right? And I feel like so many younger people kind of get caught in that trap until like at some point there's a breaking point, right? And you realize like, fuck, my life's not going anywhere.
Yeah. The other trap is as well, I was just thinking about this, is like, you know, and I think that your life is a cool analogy for this as well, because like I feel like once, you know, say someone hits a rock bottom, right? And then they're like, okay, I gotta fucking change my life. And then they make whatever adjustment is like appropriate, and then they actually start going on the right path. Like we think sometimes, well, I think sometimes, I don't know if you feel this way. Like once you've done that, you're like, okay, I did it. I turned my life around. And then
Yeah.
it's like, wait, no, this is a process you have to repeat over and over and over again. Like
Right.
there's always going to be the next fucking shitty thing you have to conquer.
For sure. Yeah. And you can't, I feel like that's an important point. And it's not just about, the result and what you get from it. I feel like as humans, as men, we need to constantly be evolving and making progress. And again, not about the result, but just going through that process in itself and continuing to change it brings you so much fulfillment, knowing that you're trying and you're working and you're getting something out of it. Like there's just something about it. I don't know how to explain it, but if you get to a certain point, at some point that is going to become normal to you. And it's going to be, if you don't continue to make progress, you're going to feel the same as you did before. Mm-hmm. So like if I would have went through a change, lost some weight, got in shape, and then just kind of stayed there and did nothing further from that, I would have been happy for a short amount of time, but then it would have been like, okay, what's next, right? And I think a lot of people do that. Is I kind of notice this in like people who get sober or go through like AA programs and stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're just kind of, that's like their badge of honor, right? Like I quit drinking or I quit doing drugs, which is good. It's important for them to do that.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome, right? But it's like, what's next now?
Or you don't think doing drugs every day is good, man?
No. I mean, a lot of people do it, but fuck, it doesn't work.
No, dude.
But it's like, okay, what's next, right? Like, and you just, like, a lot of people you see, they just identify as that. Like, I'm a person who recovered, and that's what I do, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just like living my normal life. Like, those continue to be unhealthy in other ways, eat like shit, still smoke cigarettes, and like that's just it for them. They just overcame that one big thing in their life. But it's like, if you can continue to progress from that, like, what's the next thing? There's always a next thing, right, for everybody. And that's why, like, before going through this change, I would always look at wealthy people or people who are killing it in like just in life in general, and I would always be like, "Fuck, man, this person is just greedy. Like, they have enough. Why do they keep doing these crazy business deals? Why do they keep doing like all this shit?" But now I realize that that's why, right? It's not about the money, or it's not about gaining anything. It's because they have that drive where you just continuously need to be doing something. And like, obviously it's going to be exponential. Like, when you get, the bigger you get, it just keeps getting, like, once you accomplish something and it's huge, the next thing's got to be even bigger.
Yeah, you're acclimated. Yeah, like, that's your normal.
Yeah. So it's like, what's next, and how big can I fucking go with it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have like it's a constant battle, man. But I know that like for a long time in my life, like it was mainly like envy. Like that's why I fucking hated on everybody that was fucking, if someone was like better than me at sports, I'd be like, well, he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Or if someone was smarter than me, I'd be like, well, I could kick his ass.
Yeah.
Like, there's always like the envious. And then it was like recently where I'm like, once I don't know how to say it without just kind of just saying and sounding cliche, but like once I started celebrating other people and their skills and their abilities in this world, like I literally felt better about myself.
For sure. That was one of the biggest changes that I've noticed in myself as well. Is before I actually felt like, now I feel like I'm actually trying at life. Like, I'm trying to actually make some progress. I'm putting effort into my own personal growth. So when I see somebody who's like just killing it in whatever they're doing, I fucking get excited for them, right? I get like genuinely, not just like on the surface. Like, I'm like, holy fuck. And it motivates me to do more. Like, fuck, that guy's killing it. Like, he's doing this. He's got whatever, this house, this car, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And it motivates me to do more in my own life. But before, when I really wasn't trying, and I would do the same thing, like look at somebody and then it'd be like, oh fuck, he's probably some crooked businessman, or he did this or he did that, or just try to break them down in my own mind in some way as an excuse for myself not trying, right? Like, oh, well, like you said, like you start comparing yourself and you try to tell yourself you're better in some other way than whatever that person's doing. Like, it's fucked.
Now I went like the opposite way. I've got it. It's like as the pendulum swings. Before I was like, yeah, but I could kick his ass, or well, at least I'm better at sports than that guy, or at least I'm smarter than that guy. Like it was always like, now when I compare myself, I'm like, I'm a fucking loser. And that's it. Like I got to go and fucking do better because obviously I'm not doing enough. Like that's like the way I consistently think, and there's truth behind it, but there's also like, you never know what they're going through, man, or you never know what they had before or lost before or
exactly
what they're lacking.
Yeah, what they had to go through to get whatever you're looking at them for, right? And I think it's important, like there's a fine line, but it is important to make those comparisons because if you take it the right way, like if you're taking it as in a way that, okay, you're looking at somebody and you're actually saying, okay, he's just another person just like me. He's got whatever this thing. I admire that. I want to get that. So you motivate yourself to get off your ass and actually do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just comparing it and hating and it's negative, then that's not good to do. You just need to look at your own life, appreciate what you have. But I mean, really, you got to do both. Appreciate what you have, and work for what you need, what you know you need, right?
Yeah, and it's almost like sometimes like I feel like we doubt that it's possible or that we're worthy of that. Like you were talking about self-sabotage earlier, and it's like, well, you know what? When you have like kind of like you're in that low vibrational frequency or whatever, like you know, you don't have a lot of confidence, you don't have a lot of, you know, it's mostly negative emotions going on, negative thoughts. You know, you kind of you don't have self-worth, and you don't think that, you know, like if I'm not worthy of that, you know, or maybe I don't deserve that.
Yeah.
Maybe he has that because he deserves it, and maybe I don't have it because I don't deserve it.
Yeah, it's just not in the cards for me. Like it's not going to happen. And when, like you said, man, when you're vibing low, when you haven't been doing shit, you're on the couch, you feel like shit. You've been eating shitty. You haven't been working out. You haven't been putting any effort into your life. Obviously, you're not going to believe anything's possible. Why would you believe anything's possible? Look at what you've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
But, and the thing, again, that people fail to realize is you can't think your way out of that. You can't be laying on the couch like a lazy piece of shit and expect your thought process to change. Mm-hmm. You have to some way find it in yourself to get up and start doing some work. Start working on yourself, exercise, eat healthier. And then your vibration goes up. Then you start to believe in yourself. Then things start to happen, right? The work is always going to come first before the positive thoughts, before any change happens. It's always going to be the work. So that's why it's so important to have faith and believe in something bigger than yourself, right? Like what else is going to get you off your ass when you're at your lowest point other than believing that there's something bigger than you?
Yeah. And excuse me, sorry. I think as well, like you hear like that saying, like when you're growing up, like do something every day that scares you. And it's like I've just been thinking recently, it's like more for me tailored to like do something every day that sucks, like that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's kind of like and not just like your 9-to-5 job. If you work a 9-to-5 job, like do something, add something that sucks, right? Like a workout, or even like a cold plunge, or a stretching session, or a counseling session, or journaling, or reading, like anything like that. Because I know, like for myself, the most, like I struggled for a long time even feeling happy, like you know, and for me, the only time I feel really proud of myself or feel confident is like, hey, I didn't think I could do that, or I really didn't want to do that, and I fucking did it.
Yeah.
I got it done. Yeah. Like sometimes for me that's like making a phone call I don't want to make, or having a conversation, or like fucking doing paperwork. Like I hate doing fucking paperwork.
Yeah.
So when I do it, I'm like, fuck, I really don't want to fucking do that. And I'll make myself busy with other tasks to avoid it.
Just to avoid it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like the littlest thing, and you fucking spend so much time thinking about the fact that you don't want to do it, when in reality, it's like it would have taken you 10 minutes to just get it done. And you wasted days or hours thinking about how much you don't want to do it. Just avoid it, right?
Yeah. Or like little stupid little things, man. Like, but those things are the ones that kind of eat at the back of my brain. Like I know for me, like recently what's been helping me a lot is literally just writing down checklists. Like I have like a little notepad right there, and every day I sit down and I write in that notepad like a couple things on my mind, like little things like get a gift for this person's birthday, or like, you know, whatever it could be. And those I noticed recently. The reason I started writing them down is because those are the things that eat away at myself. Like when I go to bed, it's like, oh fuck, I forgot to do this thing.
Yeah.
Shit. And then I can't sleep that night. And then the next day, my brain's fucked. And then I forget another thing. And then it's like a roller coaster that just doesn't end. Like it's just, well, a lot of the time just going down. I don't think that's a roller coaster. It's just, I don't know what you'd call that, but.
Yeah, I know what you mean. When you have those important things that you miss, and then you're like, fuck, you kick yourself about it.
It doesn't even have to be important sometimes. If it's enough small things, then it's like, fuck, this is so stressful. I've got 90 little things to do.
It all adds up. It all adds up. And those sometimes like we overcomplicate things so much. Like we sit there, we think everything is wrong with our life, and we think it's just going to be, it's some answer that we have no idea what it is that's going to change my life. Like I'm depressed. I don't know what's wrong with me. But really, in reality, if you just got up and you just did all those little things, you cleaned up your house, you made sure your finances were in order, you organized everything in your life, that in itself is going to make you feel so much better. When it's not some like mystical answer that you're trying to find. It's just that you just need to fucking just do all the small, simple steps, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty brutal, man. It's brutal, and I say that because it's like you never win. Like it's like a constant battle. Like every time I'd like to think that in the last like a couple years, I've definitely made a ton of progress. And then I look at myself, I'm like, there's still way more to go, man. Like,
yeah. And I think
once you open the book, you can't stop turning the pages, man. Like,
and the thing is that I've realized is just to accept that there's never going to be an ending point. There's never going to be a point where you get to that. Well, yeah, that's the ultimate, right? But there's never going to be a point where you're completely free. Everything's done, and you're just kicking your feet up and relaxing. Like, and that is at that point you're dead, right? Mm-hmm. So accepting that it's just going to keep building. It's going to keep going, right? And that's why it's so important to love the day-to-day process and just continue to push yourself and see how much you can do, how much you can get done. There's no better feeling than having the craziest day. Like you get up in the morning, you're just going all day and you don't miss a thing, right? Like you just get to the end of the day. You crushed everything you didn't think you could, and you had like the fucking longest day ever. You're tired as shit, and you just go to bed knowing that you didn't even, like, every little thing got done, and you're ready to get up the next day and do it all over again. Like that's a fulfilling feeling.
Yeah. I always like, that's for me is like when I finish my checklist, I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I feel so good now. Like,
yeah, exactly. Imagine you just continue to do that day after day after day, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. If you listen to Andy Frizilla, he says that's the winning the day, man. How many wins can you get consecutively?
That's it. And that's why, yeah, that's starting with the wins first thing in the morning is that's the game changer, right? Like, don't hit the snooze button, get up early, get your day started before everyone else, get the workout in, do some reading, meditation, put yourself in control, right?
Yeah. For me, that's like kind of basically how I start my day is like, I wake up, I journal a little. I've been trying to journal now. Like my rule is I want to get my thoughts out before I let any thoughts in. So like I don't want to open social media and have like ideas coming in that aren't my ideas, or like watch a YouTube video or even read. Like I don't want to read first. I want to get my ideas out.
Yeah, for sure.
Before.
It's different, man. It's something that's fairly new to me. Like 2 years it seems like a long time, but like I'm almost like I'll be 40 this year. And
fuck, dude, you don't look at it all.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's like doing that, getting up in the morning and just spending time with yourself, getting your thoughts out, just understanding what's happening in your head. Mm-hmm. That sets you up for a good day, puts you in control. And before you start letting all these things that are going to affect your thought process in, right? And like before, I don't even know how I got through the day. Just kind of waking up at the last minute and just letting your day just run a train on you, like, fuck, I gotta do this, running, like not knowing if you're gonna get your shit done, letting the smallest things kind of stress you out, like just having that sense of calm, right? Like you would always see people, like I would always see people before too, like, you know, some guys, like they just kind of seem like just cool and calm all the time, no matter what's happening. And you like just kind of wondered, right? Like, fuck, what's up with this guy?
Yeah. No, dude, the way you describe it, like I remember when I had, I worked at a gym when I was like 19, 20-ish, and maybe like 21 actually. And I was living that life like you're talking about. Like my shift started at like 11. I'd wake up at like 9:30 earliest, you know, like earliest. I was like, oh, you know, it's like a half-hour drive to work. I'll wake up, basically shower and go like that. I'll hit a drive-through on the way kind of deal. And then I would just live my life on autopilot. Like I'm going through, and I remember I had this one boss, and he was exactly like you said, like he's like cool, calm, collected. He's, and I remember watching him kind of go through that company. He's like the VP of the company, and now he's on doing his own stuff. But I remember when I first met him, I was thinking, like, how's this guy so chill all the time? He's so calm. Like, I come to him with my problem. I'm like, boss, like, this happened, and then this customer complained about this, and you know, I don't know what to do because this person's yelling at me. Like, one of my coworkers is pissed, and he's like, well, you know, like, what do you think? Like, how are you feeling about it? And he was just like, could calmly navigate through the thing, and I'm like, I remember one time when I was journaling when I still worked there. That was when I first started journaling. It was my last month working at that job. Yeah. And I remember writing down, like, what is it that I like about this guy? I wrote down, like, all these different things. Like, you know, when I get stressed, he seems calm. You know, like, and that was the main thing, realistically. Like, I was like, I like how this guy just handles shit. Like, he just deals with it. He doesn't freak out like I do or bitch or complain. And I was like, I want that. You know, why don't I how come I don't have that?
Yeah, for sure. It takes, you got to put the work in, right? Yeah, that's huge, man. And it's like, you see a lot of people do the opposite. Like they'll just be letting little situations kind of throw them off. But if you put the work in and you're able to do that, you remove so much stress from your life. And I find it's in those situations, like it's so useful just to kind of pause and just take a step back and say, okay, like if you think about it, this thing that seems like it's so big is really not that big. Like who died, right? Like
no one.
Whose world is ending? Nobody's, right? Like somebody's mad about, like in that situation, like their fucking gym contract or whatever the case is, right? Like it's not the end of the world. So, and then you kind of go into it with that mindset, right? Like still being empathetic to them about the situation, but just, and then like in that situation, like if the other person you're going to is freaking out just as much as you, then the outcome's not going to be good, right?
Yeah. You just escalate each other. Did your family freak out when you're like, oh, I'm quitting my job, I'm doing my own thing now?
My wife didn't really. She was kind of, I think she knew, she was expecting it, and she kind of she sees the progress and she sees like what I'm doing. She understands like it's something real and it's important. But my mom was kind of worried. She was like, "You're quitting your job? What the fuck?" Like she didn't say what the fuck. She doesn't swear, but she was kind of like, is there any way like you can just like go part-time, or like they're just worried, right? Like there's they always think that you need that sense of security, but I was just like, yeah, no, it's real and it's happening, but it's something that I've been living it like on a day-to-day basis. And I preach every single day that you got to listen to your conscience and do what you know is right. And so it felt like the right thing for me, and it's felt like that for a while. Like it's been bugging me. Like I just need to go all in on this. I feel like it's the right thing. And when you see the change in people, and you have people telling you like, man, you changed my life. Like it's like, well, what more of a sign do I need than that, right? So, and it's like it's not just something that I'm doing on my own. Like it's actually I have people that I'm working with, and it's actually something that's working. So I just feel it's kind of surreal at some points. Like I'm like, I don't really believe it's happening, but it feels good, man. It feels good.
That's sick. I'm sure your wife probably, because you were already doing, like, you basically, like, you had your full-time job and then that was your side hustle.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure, like, she kind of saw, like, oh, the business is definitely on an upward, trajectory. Like,
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, she sees the work, right? Like it's I show as much as I can online, but it's like I get up in the morning, I do the workout, I start posting stuff to motivate people. I'm talking on my story, and then I'm at work, right? Like most of the day, like before, as of a couple weeks ago. And then after work, I come home, I'm spending time with the family, and then once we have dinner, the kids are in bed, and then once the kids are in bed, then I'm back on the grind. I'm on my computer, setting up people's programs, making adjustments, on phone calls with people, and this has been like every day for the last like over a year, right? So I've been putting in like just a crazy amount of time, and without really even worrying about the outcome. I'm not really like, oh, I'm trying to get something out of it, just because I truly love like providing that value to people. There's no better feeling than actually helping somebody make progress and make those changes, and just giving like without any expectation, and it's turning into something real. Like that's what I'm thinking, right? Like as of a couple months ago, I'm like, this is real. I need to go all in. So I'm running some ads now. I'm working with this ad guy, running some ads, and like just trying to take steps to actually continue to grow it and make it bigger, right?
Yeah. And you were saying as well, like your kids, like your 6-year-old kind of grasps the concept of like, oh, okay, everyone else goes to work, but my dad just, like, he gets to have all this free time, or not free time, but he gets to have a bit more autonomy with his time. He gets to, do what he likes to do. Like you were saying, like they're like online coach. What is that? Like,
yeah. So my parents were not really understanding that. My kids they don't fully get the concept of it yet. They just know that I'm working from home, right? So, like my son was asking me like the first week that I was home, he's like, "Oh, you're not going to work today?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just working from home now, right?" And like, are you happy Dad's working from home? He's like so happy, right? He had the biggest smile on his face.
yeah,
Obviously now, like I get to, on the days that I get to drop him off at school, get to pick him up, just have more freedom with the time, right? And it's so much better in the family life to have that freedom. I feel so blessed. It's funny when like the day before I was leaving my job, I saw this meme, and it was on this guy on Instagram, and it was a picture of a cubicle that looked exactly like my cubicle that I was sitting in at work. And it was like, this is what hell looks like.
and you're like, bye bye.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck, that's crazy. If that's not a sign, I don't know what is. But
yeah, I've had that, man. I've even been, the funny thing is, like, you get a nice office or a nice cubicle and you're like, oh, this is sick. And then you're like, still a hamster cage, man.
Exactly.
Sorry for anyone that works there, but like, I just, I couldn't do an office job any longer.
No, same thing, man. And it seems like, I mean, it does work. It works for a lot of people. A lot of people are okay with it, and that's all good. Obviously, those types of positions need to be filled. People need to do those jobs, but a lot of people are miserable in those jobs, right?
Yeah,
and if it's something that's bugging you,
that was me, man.
Yeah, and it was that was becoming me. It wasn't always that way. And I mean, like, obviously, I'm a little bit older than you, and I have kids, I have a family. And since I've been out of, since my early 20s, I've been kind of working my way up, going through different jobs. And when I got this job, it was obviously the best job I had up until that point. And even over the last 6 years, it's grown. Mm-hmm. I've gotten a few raises, making more money than I ever had before, working my way up.
Which feels fucking awesome.
It feels good. But if it's not what it's not fulfilling, it's not truly happy, it's not going to do it, right? And that's what you hear. Like, you hear people say it all the time is, like, you can't chase the money. You got to do what you love, and then the money will come. And until you're ready to hear it, it's not going to make sense. But those types of messages over the last year were making a lot of fucking sense to me. Like, because I'm looking at myself, looking at all the quote unquote growth that I've had in my career, and making money, having a house, having like nice vehicles, not having any money problems, and still feeling like fuck, like this is not it. This is not what I should be doing, right? And now making that change, letting go of that security, and working like there's no time. Like I need to obviously have more freedom with my time, but there's no time limit. Like I could be working 18 hours in a day. I could be working 5-6 hours on some days, right? Like it's going to be so different, but I'm in control. I'm in control, right? So it's just so much better that way.
Yeah. And I think that's that's like the main point. Like I think like because every day you're going to have to do a bit of work, like literally for the rest of your life, you're going to have to do a bit of work every day. Like, you know, you're going to have days that you get to chill a little bit more, but you're still going to have to do a bit of work. Like, not just you, I mean, like across the board, like a blanket statement, like whether that's like the littlest thing, like, hey, I have to meal prep or do laundry today. Like you're doing a bit of work.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about kind of being, you know, maybe self-employed or a little bit like maybe work from home or in that position is to have the autonomy to choose like when, okay, like maybe I want to take an hour off and go take my kid to hockey or take him to school or just like, hey, I want to spend some time with my partner or, hey, I want to work out. Like for me, I always struggle with, and I don't have full autonomy on my schedule right now. I just have a schedule that works perfectly for my routine.
Perfect. Yeah.
But for me, like the longest time, like I'd want to work out at certain times of the day, and I couldn't because I was working all day or whatever it was. And sometimes it's personalized to just like kind of your demeanor or what you do. Because, you know, when I ended up, because I stayed at that gym until I was in management. So I did have that office. So, you know, like I just chilled in an office in a gym basically and just, you know, dealt with complaints and sold memberships and trained a sales team basically. And for me, even though I got to use the gym for free every day, like I'd work out for a couple hours a day sometimes.
Yeah.
And actually most of the time. And for me, it was like, yeah, I get to have my workout, but for like 8 hours, I'm sitting. That's fucking, for me, that's hell.
Yeah.
I just can't, like, this is it, because this is like the end of my day. I can sit still right now, but even then, I'm still fidgeting, moving around. Like, for me, I was meant to move all day. I know that as a fact. So now I'm working in like home renovations, and even when we're in meetings, we're like walking around houses, talking to people, like those types of things. And I'm just consistently moving. And for me, regardless of the pay, I feel better. I'm healthier. You know, for me, that makes me way happier. And so like for everybody, it's like, what do you want? Like, what do you actually want?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, on the flip side of it, you see it all the time, and it is to do a job that you don't necessarily love to do, or you don't have an option to do anything else, but you're doing it because you need to provide for your family or whatever the case is. Like that is definitely a noble pursuit. Like you can't hate on that. Like some people don't have the option, but if you're able to get yourself into a position where you can acquire a different skill and do something else and grind extra and get yourself out of that situation to do something that you do enjoy on a day-to-day basis or makes you feel good, then you should definitely do that. I mean, if you are miserable every single day, then fuck, something needs to change, right? That's no way to live. And even when I went through this massive change in 2020, I was working at that same job as before online coaching was even a thought to me, right? I was just going through these changes myself. So before going through these changes and investing in myself, there would be days I would be driving to work and I would just be dreading my life. Like, fuck, I got to go into work again. It would be like a Monday. I feel like shit. I had some drinks on the weekend. I didn't eat too good. I'm not feeling great. But then once I started making the changes, investing in myself, I started to just appreciate my life in general so much more. Started to appreciate my job more. Started to actually put more effort in. And then it's funny, as I started to put more effort into the job that I previously didn't like, and then it just, a year later, I naturally didn't have to go to that job anymore, right? So it's important to appreciate, whether you like it or not, whether it's something that you want to do or not, just appreciate what you got in that moment, right?
Yeah. I noticed that I was on the right track for me when I stopped looking forward to Friday. That was like the biggest thing when I was like, you know, I noticed that Because you always like, oh, here comes the fucking weekend, you know, like especially if you work on Monday to Friday, like it's like here comes the weekend. And then recently in like the last year or so, like last 2 years maybe, you know, when my friends are like, oh dude, it's the weekend, it's finally Friday. I'm like, so? Like,
Yeah.
you know, like I don't mind going to work. I actually like it a lot of the time. Like when I went camping for 4 days, like I'm like, I can't wait to get back to work, man. Like I want to go move around and build shit, but
Yeah.
the nice thing is, I guess, is because I have like kind of like a side project I'm working on. Like my weekends are filled with like editing and recording episodes. It's so for me, it's like, okay, well the weekend's coming. I'm just doing different work then.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, you got to have, I mean, it can't be just work and then your escape. You got to have something that you actually enjoy doing, right? If your job is not something that you fully enjoy, even if it is, like you should have something else that you do. And I feel the same way, like going on vacation now. Like I enjoy going on vacation, spending time with my family, but I don't have the post-vacation blues, right? One, I don't drink. I don't treat my body like shit. I don't come back feeling like garbage, but I actually enjoy my day-to-day process. So I actually look forward to going on vacation, but I also look forward to coming back home and just getting back to the regular day-to-day, right?
Yeah. I find like 4 or 5 days is the happy point. Anything past that, I'm like, I gotta get home.
Yeah.
I gotta get home, man.
Yeah, for sure. It was obviously during 2020, we didn't get away, we didn't get to do anything, and the first vacation, I can't remember where we went. It might have been Kelowna or something, but I was actually kind of nervous about getting away because I had been just doing the same day-to-day process, and I loved it so much. It was so new to me, and I felt so good. I was like, how am I gonna feel when I go away? But obviously, it turned out well. I was able to maintain it and come back okay. Now I'm used to it, but yeah, when those, I think Jordan Peterson was talking about it, and he said this when he was on Joe Rogan. But he's like, your life is not going to be like just sipping margaritas on the beach or whatever. I don't know if you saw that one.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, what are you doing? What are the little moments, the day-to-day moments in your life? Like, that's what your life is, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and yeah, like how long do you want to sit on the beach?
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the other thing he's
Yeah.
saying. Like how long are you going to do that for?
Yeah, and that goes back to the grind and making progress and putting effort in and growing, right? That's what life is, right? And then helping the people around you. I find a lot of times when we're in that kind of low vibe, depressed state, we're just thinking about ourselves. But if we take a step back and realize we're just one small piece of this bigger puzzle, and not to take away from yourself, yeah, you are important, your life is important, but it's not just about you, right? Like you got to take a step back and realize that. Think about if everybody was doing that, if everybody was like, I'm not getting off the couch, I feel like shit, I don't feel like it. Like what kind of world would we be living in, right? Like you just got to realize that the effort that we all put in makes a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was just I was thinking just now about, you know, when you kind of have that grind going for you and you're like, man, I just wish I had this thing. You know, like if I had the money, I'd start doing this. Or, you know, if I had this skill, I would start doing this.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's always kind of that hindrance. And for me, I always think like I wish that was given to me by someone. I wish someone just like, you know, I used to think that way. I'd be like, you know, maybe one day I'm going to, you know, meet the right person at the right time. I'm going to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the right thing, shake the right hands, and all of a sudden I'm going to get all these connections and, you know, network properly. And if I do then maybe I'll get that thing that I need so I can keep going. And it's like, dude, you're probably going to have to get that yourself.
Exactly. And I mean, a lot of the times that thing that you're looking for, it might be right in front of your face, but if you haven't been putting the work in, you're not ready to realize what it is. Like, cause it might not be something that's just black and white, right? Like the opportunity might be masked as something else. But if you haven't been putting the work in, you're not prepared, then you're going to fuck it up anyways. Mm-hmm. Right? If you're doing the work day in, day out, And when an opportunity arises, then you're ready to fucking take it, right?
Mhm.
But if you're not grinding, you're not ready for it, then like let's say somebody wanted like a huge podcast, but they're not recording, they're not practicing, they're not doing anything. What's it gonna be like? Like if somebody says, "Okay, I'm gonna give you this contract now," and like it's gonna suck because you haven't been putting the work in, right?
Yeah.
Right. But if it's like you're recording all the time, you're putting the work in, you're practicing your craft, then that opportunity arises and you're ready for it, right?
Yeah, that was like my biggest. I remember when I first started the podcast, my biggest like fear, I was like, no one's gonna listen. Like I'm just gonna work at, I'm gonna record myself, and then, I don't know if I have anything awesome to say. Like no one's gonna listen, and it's like, well, of course no one's gonna listen.
Yeah.
Why the fuck would they? You haven't done it yet.
Exactly.
Like why? Like, oh hey, like here's episode 1. Well, who are you?
Yeah.
Right? Like that, so I was like, wait, I got to start making this podcast so that people listen.
Exactly. And that's the ego, right? Like you want to be great before you're great, right?
Yeah, dude. And like even to this day, there's episodes where I upload and I'm like, fuck, man, nothing. Like, like it seems like it's like really all that work for that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Like even the same way where I'll post stuff and sometimes it'll be something that I kind of just did really quickly. But I like it, and I'm kind of like, I don't know if I should post this or whatever. And I end up posting it, and it gets such a good response. And then sometimes I'll put so much time and effort into something, and I'll throw it up, and it's like fucking nothing, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's like you just put stuff out there without any expectation, right?
Yeah. Well, and I used to structure it like I have like 2 episodes a week, so I used to structure it so like I'd have like a day that I would record on specifically, and I'd always try and get like I'd be writing every day about like episode ideas. Okay, I gotta talk about this, I gotta talk about that, I gotta find a way to make this relevant for that or whatever it could be. And I was like fucking stressed about it. Like I was like, wait, dude, what are you doing? Like I was so focused on like, if I can cheat Google's fucking algorithms or YouTube's algorithms, and like I'm gonna get all these views. And then I was like, why'd you start this? So you could just have chill conversations and actually like explore your own thoughts and basically be able to bounce those off other people and talk to people that are smarter than you or better in different areas and learn a little bit more and destigmatize being able to talk about what makes us uncomfortable or feel like shit or mental health or like anything like that. And for me, like I just kind of now I had to change the way I looked at it, where it's like, yeah, let's just go back to fucking chilling. Like record when you feel like, hey, I should record this.
Yeah.
Or like this. Like normally I would have been like, oh, let's try and schedule like, work. And it's like, no, dude, just chill out. Like it's just gonna be a chill ass conversation.
Yeah.
And once I started shaping it differently in my head, it's like, oh, this is fun again. This is really fun again.
Yeah, for sure. That's important, man. I was kind of this when I first started even just posting stuff or talking on camera on Instagram. Fuck, it was like I would like record it, do like 10 takes, then watch it over again.
Yeah.
And it was just like why this is supposed to be enjoyable. I'm supposed to be liking this. This is fucking stressing me out. That's not the way to do it, right?
Yeah. Well, for me and I remember when I first started making like episodes, because I listen to a lot of podcasts and I listen to a lot of like audiobooks, and so like Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan and all these different guys, and they always sound so well spoken and so like clean and cut, and I always kind of was like, I gotta re-record that part, I gotta edit that part out, or I gotta say that a little bit differently, I should re-record the whole episode, like, or I was missing the point. And I was like, man, if it hit me. I was like, man, imagine like having that like indication of, oh, that's how Mark speaks. And then you actually sit down with me and talk. You're like, oh, he sounds so different. Like, it's like, dude, just be you.
Exactly.
Like, what, you going to fake it for the rest of your life? Fuck that.
Yeah, exactly. You look back and sometimes there's little things like, oh, I said too many times or whatever. And then you think about that for the next one, like maybe I should clean it up a little bit. But I mean, you can't completely change everything fucking about yourself. Otherwise, like you said, it's not even going to be authentic.
Yeah. Like for the longest time as well, like I didn't want to swear. I was like, oh, I shouldn't swear in my episodes. I was like, dude, that's how I talk. Like,
Yeah.
you know, maybe I got to not do it every single sentence, but when it's, you know, when I would normally swear, I'm not going to not swear,
Yeah.
you know, like it's just, you know, and what's going to happen? Oh, I'm going to get canceled. I don't even make fucking money off this. Like, there's nothing. Oh, I'm going to lose my viewers. Like,
Yeah.
no, like it's, I'm like, man, I just got to have fun. Like, and again, like even, you know, maybe taking a break from we were talking about vacations, but sometimes like even just taking a break from some of the things that you do, like you kind of appreciate and miss them. Oh yeah, I miss doing that. And like I was kind of taking it too seriously or not serious enough in this area, you know, like, you know, I feel like a lot of the times, at least myself, like I overthink those things.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely those things. I mean, I kind of now, like there's certain things that I just got to do. Like there's no, like every single day I have to do it. Otherwise my thoughts aren't right. Right. Like I got to get up.
100%.
You got to get up early. You got to get the workouts in, all that stuff. Right. But I mean,
Yeah.
there's a certain level, like you can't go like fucking 18 hours a day forever.
Oh yeah. No, it's funny. I like, cause I think of it like as a separation. Like that's like life. Like for me, like waking up early, that's normal. That's like, that's that's my weekend. That's non-negotiable.
Yeah.
You know, the way that I was telling you about like my meal plan, like that's non-negotiable. It's not like I just wake up sometimes. I'm like, I'm just going to eat burgers.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not, that doesn't happen anymore. The drive-throughs, you know, those things like that doesn't happen anymore. Like all of those things are non-negotiable. I think like, I'm definitely somebody that functions really well off of structure. And the thing is it's almost like a weird paradox of like having like structured chaos. Like it's like, you know, sometimes you do have to let loose, but the only reason or the only way you can have the freedom to let loose is having the discipline in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. It's discipline gives you freedom. Like
Yeah.
it's everyone needs some type of a program that helps them be in control, right?
Yeah. Well, and like I think it's so funny when people are like, "Oh, I don't do well with routines. I don't do well with structure. I don't do well." It's like,
Yeah.
biology might disagree.
Well, people don't connect the dots. Like the same people that say those types of things are the ones that are always complaining about stupid shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like connect the dots. That's why, right? Like you need some structure and you need a routine.
Yeah. They're like, "Oh, but it's hard." You're like, that's the point.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where kid, man. Did you have like what was like the hardest thing for you, like kind of like when you were like kind of like cleaning up your life? Like was it like getting sober? Was it like working out more often? Was it nutrition? Like was it just like
You know what? At the point when I decided to make the change in my life, I was just so sick of my own shit that when it turned around and I just went like head first into it. Nothing really seemed hard. I was just enjoying the fact that I was fucking getting out of my own way and actually making progress. And then everything kind of happened really quickly in terms of my progress. Like I started feeling good, started seeing physical changes, mental changes, and then it just kind of rolled into that, turning into me helping other people in my life, and then started coaching. It just kind of all happened so quickly that there was not really any part of it that I struggled with in terms of this is difficult or whatever. The only thing that I would say is at the beginning, I'm the type of person who, if I'm doing something and it's helping me, like I will try to, I'll always be like talking about it to other people. And it's like, you kind of you can't be overbearing, right? And at the beginning it was kind of like too much. Like everyone around me, I was like, you need to do this. You need to fucking get up early. You need to track your macros and work out and do all this shit. And if the person's not ready for it, you're just going to push them away, right? If you're doing that. So I've kind of backed off now. I just I'll let people come to me. Like if they feel like they need, like the people around me, people in my life, like I'll never preach to them directly. Like if they start asking me or I know that they need some guidance, then I'll help them. But I don't just like ruin every fucking family function.
Yeah, dude, I know. I'm like that as well. I'm literally exactly like that because when I start something new, or I'm noticing positive results from something that I've been doing, I literally talk about it all the time. Like the same conversation I had yesterday is still on my mind today, and I'm going to bring it up. Like, hey, you know, like that's what I was talking about yesterday, was like what we were saying earlier about confidence and doing hard things. Like I literally had that conversation yesterday because I'm coming to this realization right now. Like I knew it theoretically, but now I'm seeing the fruits of the labor, and I'm like, holy shit. And now it's fresh on my mind. Like anytime I start doing anything or see the results, all I do is talk about it.
Yeah.
And dude, that's just so funny because that's literally, I still say that to my friends. I'm like, literally, I'm like, just wake up earlier, man. Just, you gotta wake up earlier.
Yeah.
Or start journaling. Like I preach that forever, like
Yeah.
for everyone. But I get what you're saying, man, because that's what I was trying to say earlier. It's like, how do you tell someone to, without telling them what to do? How do you tell them what to do, right? Like it's for me. I've come to the approach is like, I've just started asking like permission, basically. Like, hey, or do you want my advice? Would you like my input, or are you just like venting to me? Or, like, you know, like, or, and to even take it a step further, to just like basically wait and just wait for them to ask you, right?
Yeah.
Like you're saying.
Yeah. One thing is when you hear somebody that's always complaining about the same thing and they're not doing anything about it, right? At that point, I think if it's somebody that you care about, you got to call them out. You got to say, like, let them do it once, but then the next time you see them, they're still complaining about the exact same thing, right? Like, oh, I feel like shit, or I need to lose this weight, or whatever. I mean, you got to say, like, okay, well, what are you doing about it? Like, if it's not something that's not something that you don't like, or you know you need to change, then why aren't you changing it? Like, you just want to complain and want people to console you and hear listen to you complain. Like, you need to fucking change, right? And I think that's a big thing that's missing is we're always, we might have even touched on this last time, is we're always quick to try to make the other person feel comfortable when that's not what they need, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I think as well, like when we are kind of in that like mindset where we're like bitching or complaining or whatever it is, you're looking for like validation. You're looking for someone to say, hey man, like, no, you're doing the good things. You're on the right track. Don't worry, man. Just keep your head up.
Yeah.
Just keep doing it. And you're like, well, I'm so overweight, man. And then they're like, nah, dude, you look all right. You're just thick. What, you know? And it's like, you're looking for validation. You're looking for someone to say, hey man, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
You know, and I just think like a lot of the time we're not willing to do the things that get us validation. We just want the validation. And it's like, dude, you got to validate it with your behavior.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to. I mean, somebody else telling you that you're okay when you know you're not is not going to work.
It hurts, dude. It pisses me off. It literally makes me mad. Like I actually, like for a while, I started suppressing myself like a little bit more. Like I've always gone through cycles of like, okay, I always talk about what I'm going through, and then I never talk about what I'm going through. And I remember going through this weird cycle one time where I just stopped talking to people about my feelings or my emotions, what I was going through, because, you know, hearing them say, hey man, don't worry about that, or, you know, it's not that big of a deal, or it's, you know, you're all right, you're in good, you know, it pissed me off. It made me mad.
Yeah.
And it made me more mad than when someone was just brutally honest with me.
Yeah, because basically what you're doing, like when you're telling somebody they're okay and you're basically lying to them, in a way you're telling them that you don't think that they can change, or you don't see any potential of them getting any better. So you're just telling them to fucking not even try, right?
Yeah. Yeah, dude. That hits hard. Because I remember being, like, one example, I remember being, like, overweight, like, too fat. My body fat was way too high, you know? Like, I had tits, I had, you know, a belly, and I remember literally complaining. I'm like, man, I'm fat. And people would, I wasn't, like, abnormal, like, I wasn't, like, fucking massively obese, but I wasn't really in good shape.
Yeah.
I was athletic because I was playing sports, but I was not eating well.
Yeah.
So, you know, people would be like, oh, dude, it's good. You're athletic, man. It's okay. You know, you're obviously not like fat. You're not unhealthy. Like, you're moving all the time. And, dude, it got to the point where it pissed me off so much.
Yeah.
Like, and what you're saying too is like, oh, they don't think that that's achievable, or they don't think that you can do that. Bro, I didn't think I could do it. Like, I remember when I first started working out and lifting weights, I didn't think I could even have abs. Like, I didn't think that was a thing for me. Like you said, like, it didn't feel like it was in the cards for me, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's like...
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's important to be around people who have results in some of the things that you're trying to achieve, right?
Be around people with abs.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
I'm just joking.
No, if you want abs, then, I mean, if somebody with abs is telling you
Facts.
it's possible,
Yeah,
then fucking, you're going to listen to him, right? If a fat guy's telling you it's possible, you might not believe him, right? So.
Yeah. No, you're right, man. 100%. I was joking with my roommate yesterday. We were chatting, and I was like, I made like kind of a too big of a generalization, but I was like, don't take advice from people that you wouldn't want to trade lives with. But realistically, what I should have said is, you know, if someone has something that you'd like, you should listen to how they got it.
Yeah.
Right?
At least, yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Like, if you would want to trade bank accounts with someone, you should probably listen to how they got their money, right? Like, or at least get some financial advice from them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's like, listen to the people that have what you want. So I guess there is a lot of meaning behind that. You should have friends with abs. You should definitely have friends with abs.
Yeah, for sure. It should be the full package.
That's sick, man. What, bro, you got to get out of here soon?
Yeah.
Shit.
We should. Yeah.
All right, wrap this up. Everyone can find Ranjodh at, it's at rd.fit.
rd.fit on Instagram.
Sick, man. Well, I do the intros, but you got to do the outro, bro. You got to give everybody a little bit of something positive or something motivating, or just give yourself a shout out or a plug.
Yeah, for sure.
But thank you for being here, man.
Thank you.
I really appreciate this time. That flew by.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been an hour and 40 minutes. That's crazy. But yeah, if anybody's looking for motivation, I'm always on Instagram, rd.fit. And my whole thing is just about getting out of your own way, doing what's difficult, and just understanding that this whole journey we're on, it's not about a destination. It's not about a result. It's just about challenging yourself every single day, loving the process as you're doing it, and just growing, helping yourself, helping everybody around you. And if you just do simple things, simple steps every single day, your life will change. It's not complicated.
Oh yeah. I stand by. I'm Mark Henriksen, and I endorse this man and this message. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.